Beach and Park District is now called to order. It is Monday, April 5th, 2021. The time is 5:15 p.m. Joanne, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Ernst?
Here.
Commissioner Engel? Here. Commissioner Rollins?
Here.
Commissioner Vogelsang?
Here.
And Commissioner Wright?
Here.
Thank you, Joanne. Commissioners, any changes to the agenda? Okay, hearing none. It is now time for public requests, and we've got several that Mrs. Harms is going to read for us. So, Brianne, would you start it off with some of the emails?
I sure will. Everybody can hear me okay?
We can.
Okay, great. In response to an email solicitation by the Friends of Gumbo Limbo or Gumbo Limbo Inc., we received 47 emails supporting the pipes and pumping project at Gumbo Limbo, which is on the agenda tonight. I'll read off the names of those people and addresses if they gave them. If I don't read an address, it means that none was given in the email. Again, these 47 people support the project. We have Jim Hartnett, Judy Messing at 2000 South Ocean Boulevard in Boca Raton, Tori Golden, Cindy Liberty, Tim Lynch of Hillsborough Mile, Hillsborough Beach, Judy Vandemark. We have Kelly and Luke Tabera from St. Paul, Minnesota, Manuel Rodriguez, Sheldon and Ellen Heckman, Sally Madison from Pennsylvania, Judy Vandermark, Hazel Rudick, Laura Meyer, Gail Larkin at 6065 Verde Trail South, Sharon Natalini, 2121 North Ocean Boulevard, 44E, Charlene Leon, Paul Homer, Tammy Hall, Julie Christopherson, Ann Berlin, Nancy Stroud, Marjorie Talbot from Briny Breezes, Gulfstream Beach, Danielle Siegler, 300 Northeast 5th Street in Boca Raton, Amelia Marinello, 6895 Imperial Beach in Delray, Barbara Briggs, 925 Northwest 6th Avenue in Boca, Karen Nordlander, Mystica Green, Nadine McGee from Ocean Ridge, Jay McGee from Ocean Ridge, Dave and Susan O'Brien, Debbie Stemp, Nancy Tuman, Carla Ewell, David Wen, Riccardi Zhu, 555 Main Street, New York, New York, Nancy Bourgeois, Susan Meltzer, Yash Bhagwanji from FAU, Jolene Herman from Delaware, Ohio, Grace Channel, Judy and Andy Friedman, Maria Chatham from Delray Beach, Sheila Kaplan Rankin, 520 Northeast 35th Street, Boca Raton, Anita Holland, Lisa Hergo, Matthew Thompson, Julie Norris from 784 Camino Lake Circle in Boca, Marie Parker. No address given for that one. Additionally, we received some other emails on this topic that were different in nature, and also several for the Boca Chica property, so I'll read those now. This is from Dr. Pendiger, who is Vice President of the Friends of Gumbo Limbo. Dear Commissioners, I'm writing this in support of the agenda item listed for today's meeting, the Seawater Pump Project for Gumbo Limbo Nature Center. As you all know, GNLC is a jewel in our city that was created more than 30 years ago. Boca residents have loved and supported the center and its educational activities, the aquariums, and the sea turtle rehab wholeheartedly. The life source for all those animals in the center, however, is the fresh seawater supply that is unhindered. Installing the new pumps for the future while the age-old system is deteriorating fast will be a smart and timely move on your part. The Gumbo Limbo Nature Center draws more than 200,000 people to its attractions. By your decision today, you'll be continuing that one important avenue for families and visitors to bring their children and get educated. Respectfully, Dr. Pendiker. Dear Chair Vogelsang and Commissioners, I am Jim Miller, 480 East Boca Raton Road, Boca Raton 32432. Friends of Gumbo Limbo is pleased to see the presentation of a final design and bid package for a new pipeline and pump project to supply natural ocean seawater to Gumbo Limbo. This is a critical, urgent need for Gumbo Limbo to replace the seriously inadequate system now in place. It is a credit to the center staff that with the support from city services and the financial support of the district for periodic mitigation work, the center has been able to get by over these last many years as the new project was developed, engineered, designed, and permitted. The current system functions, but it has serious limitations. It works thanks to the team effort, and I'm sure the team will continue to keep things going while the new system is being built. Now is time to move ahead and not challenge the team any more than they have been. We look forward to this project to be started promptly and completed soon. There seems to be no question that this is the system that is right for the job. This project needs to happen now. Thank you, sincerely, Jim Miller. This is from Michelle Peel in Boca Raton. Dear Commissioners, I understand that the bids have come back for the seawater pump system much higher than budgeted. The city has responsibly already tried to downsize the project in terms of piping sizes and number of pumps, but it is still very high price tag. The materials put together on the Friends of Gumbo Limbo website cite some good information. However, a few comments on them for your consideration. Statement and FAQs. This is well below the minimum of 500 gallons per minute and the ideal rate of 1,000 gallons per minute. The current construction bid specifies 2 pumps, each with capacity of 1,000 gallons per minute. That was the end quote. This sizing was based upon the construction of a new campus for Gumbo Limbo with expanded seawater needs. This is not happening. The project is, quote, dead in the water, so to speak. Therefore, the size of these pumps could be further reduced. There may also be other reductions possible. Number 2, statement in top 10 list, quote, Gumbo Limbo's visitors have doubled in less than a decade to 200,000 per year. The center's ability to pull ocean water is unique and has been integral in achieving its popularity and acclaim, end quote. With COVID, the center has been closed for a year to visitors, and even when it does reopen, it is very likely that visitation will be drastically curtailed for years to come. The ability to social distance is not easily achieved with the current buildings, which means there will be limitations on admission. It is doubtful that the center will ever achieve those numbers again. There is definitely a need for a reliable saltwater supply system. However, this is oversized for the current and foreseeable needs. There could still be further cost reductions achieved with downsizing, and FAU should contribute for their portion of the water usage, which I believe is somewhere between 10 to 20% of the total flow. Good luck in your decision, Michelle Peel. This is from Robert Ducate in Boca. Dear Commissioners, thank you for your support in preserving valuable green space within our city by purchasing the former Ocean Breeze property. Also, thank you for the hundreds of hours and approximately 1 million you've already devoted to the improvement and maintenance of this property. There have been many suggestions by residents regarding the design and improvement of this property. The district did a great job on their most recent large park development at DeHornley Park, and that it would be my recommendation that you consider hiring the consultants and contractors who did such a fine job on this park. Establishing a connected facility via bike and walking paths that could easily be accessible for the southwest section of the property would be greatly appreciated. The Florida Department of Transportation is working on the nearby I-95 bridge, which will include a wide path along the south side of Jeffries Clintmore Road that would connect to the El Rio Trail. Trails around large lakes similar to DeHornley Park would be a great addition to our city and provide the desired connectivity. During your previous meeting regarding the contract renewal on the rental of FAU soccer fields, there was concern expressed by commissioners that FAU will likely need these fields for their own use in the future. The Boca Chica property could provide a great opportunity for the district to permanently secure soccer fields for this vital recreational activity to meet current and future needs of our growing population. The east portion of the Boca Chica property would provide excellent access for traffic and parking off to East Jeffrey Street, while also providing room for numerous soccer fields. The city has decided to provide nearby golf facilities at Boca Country Club, so golfers should direct their complaints or suggestions regarding golf to the city council. There is a growing population in North Boca Raton, so the numerous recreational recommendations should be considered instead of another golf facility so close to Boca Country Club. Thank you for considering these general recommendations on how to improve the property. Respectfully, Robert Ducate. Hello, it's a little harder to read. Hello, I'm Jackie Glissman, owner of 2 out of the 3 only houses on the northwest side of the Ocean Breeze Golf Course. I would like to know the details of the construction process for the proposed recreation center or golf course, since the raise or fall of water level on the lake can directly affect the stability of my houses. 1, will they be putting a heavy cement base and structures near the lake, which could push the sand down, affecting the lake's integrity and water level? 2, will they use heavy machinery to flatten and compact the ground underneath in preparation for the new structures? 3, where exactly are these structures going to be built? 4, will they be planning on pumping out sand from the lake for the construction? 5, will they removing trees around the lake, promoting the existing erosion even further around the lake? 6, does Boca Chica have any participation in the type of development for the area? I'm truly concerned on a possible threat to the stability of my house caused by any new construction affecting the lake where my houses are built on. Thank you, Jackie Glissman, 6250 and 6231 Northwest 4th Avenue, Boca Raton. And finally, we have one more from Georgina, or she goes by Gigi Sahel. Hello, Board of Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to express my interest in Boca Raton and especially my community, Boca Chica. The purpose of this letter is to discuss my views as a design professional and a condo owner in developing the Boca Chica community. My name is Georgina, or Gigi Sahel, and I am a resident of Boca Chica at 5961 Northwest 2nd Avenue. I reside in Boca Chica Building 4, which is the one on the northwest corner of the 2nd Avenue and Clintmore Jeffrey Street intersection. My background is in architecture as a design professional, and I'm currently in a more business role as an architectural project manager at Coulter Homes, managing residential developments in communities in the Southeast. I have experience with graphics, master planning, site planning, architecture, aesthetics, business and design, and I am CPT-ED, crime prevention through environmental design certified. My ideas for the former Ocean Breeze property take into consideration future Jeffrey Street expansion to US 1, future widening of 2nd Avenue to include 2 lanes in each direction, abundant amount of parking available throughout Boca Chica, Boca enthusiast Rick Hurd's presentation and ideas, pickleball enthusiast Raul's speeches during commission meetings, my discussions with other friends and neighbors at Boca Chica, El Rio Trail, crime prevention through environmental design strategies, the 4 main principles of which are 1, natural surveillance, 2, access control, 3, territorial reinforcement, and 4, space management. My primary ideas for the former Ocean Breeze property include 1, a 9-hole or 18-hole executive golf course, 2, driving range and putt-putt, 3, multi-purpose golf structure, golf operations, golf community space and restrooms, 4, field house, restrooms, cafe, indoor-outdoor lounge space, independent structure, 5, pickleball courts, 6, pickleball structure, pickleball operations, community space, restrooms, 7, recreational park space to include courts, field, fitness, disc golf, bike ramps, and other various basic park amenities, 8, children's playground space, 9, dog park, 10, open lawn space, green space, 11, bike walk route to encompass the entire property as a perimeter boundary and continued access to El Rio Trail at Clintmore access, 12, rejuvenation of the Boca Chica entrance on Yamato. I've submitted a very generic master plan spatially laying out functions as my response to the RFI. I look forward to any future discussions and thank you all for the opportunity to use the platform to better our community. And Ms. Sahel did submit to the RFI. She just also asked that it be read into public comments. That is all I have to read tonight. You're muted, Madam Chair.
The suggestions for Ocean Breeze will also be in our packets for our
Yes.
review?
Yes.
Okay. Melissa, do you have any call-ins?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Verstandig?
Yes, thank you very much. Bruce Dilla Verstandig, 140 Southeast 5th Avenue, Boca Raton, Florida, 33432. First, I'll address Boca Breeze. My suggestion for Boca Breeze should kind of mirror a lot of what Central Park has. And along those lines, I'd like to suggest there's the boat pond that's on the east side in Central Park that's used for model boats. It's a small pond. You're going to dig a pond. You're going to dig lakes for the golf course. This might be perfect to put seating around it. In Central Park, it's where the Alice in Wonderland statue is, so it's a place for outdoor art, etc. That's what I have to say about Boca Breeze. Now I'd like to address the pumping situation. First of all, it's very interesting that most of the comments that Executive Director Harms read, there was no address given, or a lot of them were out of state. Okay, so I'd like to start off with the 4 letters NVMM. And I'd like to ask every commissioner to please write that down. NVMM, not bit my money. The Boca Beach and Parks District collects taxes for the purpose of recreation, for the purpose of beaches and parks. You know what? I find it amazing that now you're going to give money. You don't have enough money to do what you need to do for the, let me backtrack for a second. I fought to get a line item on for Ocean Strand, $50,000. I listened to the commissioner's fight to up it to $100,000. Now you're going to give millions of taxpayer dollars to a nonprofit that I believe is not on your property. You do not have a board seat on. You do not have a say in the project. And yet you want to take tax dollars you collect as the Boca Beach and Parks District for recreation purposes and donate it to a nonprofit charity, which, by the way, when I looked on charitynavigator.com and looked at their tax returns, it seems that the Friends of Gumbo Limbo has millions of dollars in their coffers. And you're asking the residents to pay for something that's not on the property, and you don't have enough money. I actually question whether it's legal, and I asked this to Jacob, who I think is a very competent attorney, is it legal to collect taxes for recreation and then turn it over to a nonprofit. If you want to support a nonprofit, you know what? There's food banks. There's people in Boca that are hurting. Full disclosure, I'm a tree hugger. I'm a conservationist. But at the same time, you need to put your money in terms of where it is needed. You know, if this is part of a city agreement, then I think it's time that you relook at and renegotiate all of these city agreements. By the way, what does the need assessment have to say in terms of conservation versus pickleball, versus recreation, versus beach, versus all of this? The Beach and Parks District needs every penny it has. I watched you guys fight between 50,000 to 100,000. You want to put millions of dollars? Put it into Ocean Strand. Put it into Ocean Breeze. Do you have any idea how much money you're going to get or not get from the city? And now the city is, before you even know what it's going to cost to build Ocean Breeze, what the city is going to give you, they're asking you to give $3 million to a project that's not on your property. You don't have a board seat. It's a nonprofit. And I question the legality of the district collecting tax dollars to give to a nonprofit that is not for recreation purposes. I've kind of said everything that I have to say. And if I wasn't clear, NVMM, not with my money. You collect my tax dollars, it does not go to a nonprofit. It goes to recreation. It goes to the beaches. You know what? You guys flushed $1 million down the toilet doing a golf course design. Okay, that was recreation. I had nothing to say about this. But here you're going to give $3, $5, $7 million to pumps for something that you don't have a board seat on, you have no control, and it's not recreation. I question the legality of it. And if there's an attorney listening, you know what? If you guys give this money to the nonprofits, somebody's got to look into the district charter. And perhaps if that's the case, you guys need to be dissolved because your record and you were hired and elected based upon recreation. And you know what? MVMM, not with my money. I think I've said enough. Thank you very, very much for listening.
Thank you. Melissa?
No hands right now.
Well, two things. One, I think there is, someone called me just before the meeting, and if you could look for 3772, Melissa.
Yes, hi, that's me. My name is Eric Silver, Director of Tennis for the last 20 years with the Boca Raton Resort and Club. I've been a resident of Boca for the last 40 years. We are working on a project also at Ocean Breeze, privately funded, publicly private, for an Ocean Breeze Racket Club, which would include 10 indoor tennis courts, 6 indoor pickleball courts, 20 outdoor pickleball courts, 6 basketball courts, shade shelters for the tennis and pickleball players, basketball courts, a walking path with exercise facilities, a community pavilion, and other shade shelters, parking for 60 to 80 on that side and parking for 75 by the indoor courts. We have the funding. We've retained the best in the business, which is Global Sports Tennis Design Group for the indoor structure. Locally, we've retained Charlie Putnam, I'm sure you all know Charlie, to design, and we're in a position now to make a real presentation to this board, but we're at the point where it's going to become very financial. It's going to cost a lot of money to put the next proposal together, so I wanted to know if we should continue in this direction. We have the funding, and we have obviously the people, we have the professionalism, and we think it can be an outstanding addition to the community. As pickleball is growing, we'll have a world-class pickleball center. We can probably get up to 25 courts on that site, additional outdoor tennis courts. It'd be only indoor tennis within probably 50, 60 miles of Boca Raton.
Mr. Silver, have you submitted a response to our RFI?
I have not yet, no.
The deadline is April 9th. If you would like to do that, then we will be considering all the possibilities.
Okay, and that is the
Request for information
Yes.
or inquiry?
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
Publicly noticed, if I may, Madam Chair. Thank you for the interruption. Forgive
Thank
the
you.
interruption.
No problem.
okay, we will do that. Thank you
Okay.
very much for your time.
Thank you for calling in.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and Melissa Brian says Mr. Miller has his hand
Well,
up.
I've got some people here. I've got
Okay.
in 0607. Number 0607.
Hi, I'm Robin Morgerato, 21809 Marriott Drive in Boca Raton. I have been a volunteer at Gumbo Limbo for 15 years, as well as a Friends Board trustee for 10 years, 5 of which I was vice president. Whether I was volunteering at the tanks or in the sea turtle rehab, what I was really doing was educating. The fish, the stingrays, the moray eels in our sea tanks are the living tools we use every day to educate the 200,000 visitors we have from Boca, neighboring communities, and from all over the world. At all our tanks, we have trained volunteers and staff whose job it is to educate our visitors on the importance of protecting our reefs, mangrove areas, our ocean, our environment, and our future. As a volunteer, I was trained to help our sea turtle rehab vet and rehab staff provide medical treatment to our sick and injured sea turtles. But our turtle rehab was created not only to help these sick and injured turtles, but more importantly, these turtles are used as educational tools to teach visitors about these ancient endangered animals. When visitors ask why the turtles have ugly tumors all over, or what is causing them to now be declared in danger, and what can I do to help? We educate them. We educate them on plastics and balloons and agricultural runoff. Sea turtles will be saved when people understand what is causing their plight and what they can do to change our environment. Gumbo Limbo is not just an attraction, but more importantly, we are an educational facility. Our marine animals, our sea turtles, are our educational tools. Therefore, they are very valuable to the mission of Gumbo Limbo. We need to make sure that the water they live in is providing the environment that keeps them safe and healthy. For all the years I've been volunteering at Gumbo Limbo, there have been problems with the pumping system. When there was a problem with the pumps, they were repaired. They had temporary fixes, Band-Aids, jerry-rigged. The staff worked hard and often to make sure the pumps continued to do their jobs. I personally witnessed what happened when our pumping system stopped working during one night. The following morning, we found our tanks with little or no water in them. Our most beautiful tank that was home to our tropical fish and reef animals, well, they were all dead. The time has come to complete the seawater pumping project. It is not a luxury, but a basic necessity. We are so close. Please make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin.
Ms. Winnikin?
Hello. My name's Jeanette Weineken. I'm a professor at Florida Atlantic University, and I serve as the director of the FAU Marine Lab located in the Gumbo Limbo Environmental Complex. I have recently learned more and more about the pumps and the situation. Just for some clarification, for many years, FAU has helped support the pumps, and we currently help support the pumping system that's there with maintenance and maintenance of the priming pumps. They're called vacuum pumps that we own and take care of. And those are necessary for the current system. I want to echo a little bit of what the previous speaker has noted, which is that the Gumbo Limbo Environmental Complex is recreation for some, it's education for some. It is a unique resource throughout for the community and the community at large, and it's really remarkable what a great set of partners work with to make that facility possible, whether it's the butterflies or the turtles or the marine fish and invertebrates. And a large part of what is possible is because of the running seawater system there. And from the perspective of training graduate students and undergraduate students and the public, what we are able to communicate about the ocean, the turtles, the sharks, the marine plants would not be possible without the visitors coming through and learning about the science that we are doing at that facility. So it's really, the facility is dependent upon the seawater. It's literally the lifeblood of what is possible, whether it's possible as a research facility or it's possible as an education facility, or possible just in terms of the aesthetic pleasure that people gain from going through Gumbo Limbo's Nature Center and Sea Turtle Hospital. It's the pumping system that's been proposed has really is both adequate in terms of the volume of water, and it's also a bit prospective. And when you're dealing with two pumps, if one pump needs to go down, you can still support the system with the one pump. What you don't want to have is just one pump. Ideally, there'd be three, but with the current plan of two, at least there's a backup arrangements. And so the 1,000 gallons is not only a good plan, but it's a safe plan. So that's, I really am in favor of seeing this plan move forward, and would like to encourage the movement in that direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Winnikin.
I don't see any other hands.
Okay. Public requests are now closed. It's time for the approval of the board minutes from the hybrid meeting on March 15th, 2021. Do I hear a motion? You're on mute, Steve.
So moved.
Thank you. Do I hear a second? Could I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Joanne, would you please do a roll call vote?
Sure. Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang,
Yes.
and Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Our first item of regular business is the CSR Athletic Construction Contract found on page 8 of your agenda packet. Brianne, would you start us off?
Commissioners, on page 8 is the contract with CSR Construction, and this is for the cleanup at Boca Ocean Breeze. There's so many oceans in Boca. At Ocean Breeze, we awarded the bid to them. You all voted to award the bid to them a few meetings ago. This is the final contract price of $552,795, and that will complete the demolition, the fencing, the tree pruning, and the clearance of those 3 corners.
Commissioners,
So we're
do-
looking for approval of this contract tonight.
Thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Brianne or for our district council?
Yeah, I have one question. There's nothing in this agreement, I take it, that's any different from what we originally approved?
That's correct.
Mr. Gorin? You're on mute, Mr. Gorin.
Madam Chair, if I can respond to the commissioner, the answer is no. The document in form and substance is consistent with the approval, including the dollar value that was assigned and ascribed to the agreement. So the answer is yes, you're correct with your assessment, Commissioner Engel.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions for Mr. Gorin or Ms. Harms?
Madam
What?
Chair,
Yes, sir.
this is Craig Ernst. I think the agreement looks very good. It's consistent with what we talked about. But just kind of going into it, my question to maybe Melissa and Brianne is, do you foresee at this point any change orders that would be needed? That this will be it and we won't have to have a revisiting of things. And I know that's a loaded question. I know there's, I haven't seen a project yet that hasn't had a change order, but is there anything out there that gives you pause for concern that we should address here or again?
I feel comfortable that we won't see a lot of change orders unless something is unearthed, unforeseen. I feel because all the bids came in so close, I feel like the project was presented well in the RFP, and I feel confident with CSR. I know even on the project that they did at Patch Reef, they actually saved us money as we went through the project. So maybe we'll get the same good luck with this one too, but I don't foresee, there's nothing that stands out that would be a change order.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ernst. Do I hear a motion?
I'll
So
make a
moved, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Rollins. You're on mute, Steve.
I'll second.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Joanne, would you do a roll call vote for the approval of the CSR contract?
Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes?
Commissioner Rollins,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang,
Yes.
and Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Okay. Brianne, will you make sure that CSR is aware of what's going on here and get
I
them?
will.
We will sign the contracts after the meeting. The second item is the pipes and pumping for Gumbo Limbo. Brianne, would you like to start us off?
I will. Commissioners, I think, oh, something's echoing. I don't, Sam, can you mute? Sorry. I think the emails at the start of this, I don't know why I'm still echoing.
Try to mute Steve. Let's see if that works. Steve? Steve? Did you mute?
Okay, that's better, right? Okay. I think at the start of this, meeting, we heard a lot of emails urging this board to support this project. And I think the point that's missing is that this board has always supported this project. In fact, for years, we've carried this item on our budget. We've committed to $3,222,000 this budget cycle. I think the city is asking for taxpayers of the city and those who also pay district taxes to fund this entire project, now estimated to be $3,666,246. I think they have partnerships with FAU and Gumbo Limbo Inc. Well, they have a lease agreement with FAU. There's no agreement in place with Gumbo Limbo Inc., even though they operate out of the facility. I think that the city, I would urge the city to talk to them, and I would urge this board to be cautious about amending the budget because it will take away from future projects that we have. We have a lot of recreational projects on our plate, and an additional 400,000 plus is definitely going to impact us adversely in the future for some of our projects. And I'll open it up for discussion. We are not obligated to amend our budget this year. I think the taxpayers also owe it that we look at the Friends and we look at FAU and see what they can contribute monetarily to the project before we continue to commit more funds.
I heartily concur with you that we have supported this and that we have an interlocal agreement with the city for Red Reef. And we are not donating this money to a nonprofit. I would like for that to be very clear to the public. This is not being donated to the public for a nonprofit. It is a contractual obligation that we have with the city that we have budgeted the 3.22 million. So commissioners, I'd like for you to weigh in. If you'd like to raise your hands. Ms. Wright?
Yeah, a couple of things. I know in past meetings I have asked why or if the city had ever approached FAU in terms of funding for this project. Have they approached FAU for any partial funding for this project?
Just several weeks ago, I was on a phone call with Dr. Wyneken, who spoke during public comments. And at that point, she made it known that they were not included in this project up until that point. So they have not asked them for money, and they have not asked the Friends for any sort of funding for this project.
Right. So that seems odd to me, considering that the city is so concerned about our spending on the golf course, but didn't go to other entities in terms of funding, so that taxpayers didn't have to cover the work orders of the overages that we would have. I did talk to Jim Miller, who had mentioned that Friends might be able to cover the the 121,000 for the work orders number 3 and 4. But of course, he would have to get that approval from the board. But the 300,000, why? I don't understand. We've always had the 3.2 set aside for this project, which is what we are obligated to. That's what we budgeted, and that's what we're required to pay in terms of our the ILA that we have. So the 300,000 could have come from FAU. They could have possibly gotten grants. And there was some discussion from our attorneys in terms of past discussions and things like that, where FAU was involved in terms of funding for some of these things. So I just don't understand why the city didn't go and discuss this with FAU.
Well, when this project was first brought to this board in 2013, which is before you were on the board, Commissioner Wright, Mr. Parks, who was the deputy director at the time, did tell the board that FAU had committed verbally to fund the project up to 20%. That was just a verbal commitment, and that's what he reported. But I'm not sure what happened between now and then as far as why FAU was not involved along the way.
Okay, my other questions were, can the city go ahead with the project if we approve the 3.2 that we have budgeted for this project? Can they go ahead, since they've done all the permitting and things like that needed, so much time to do? Can they go ahead with that if we approve the 3.2 that we've set aside?
I'm not sure on their processes. I think Mr. Calvert may be on this call tonight, hopefully, and also Jennifer Bastiga. I'm not familiar with the city's process, but I believe that they take it to council once it's fully funded in the past. Now, could the city fund the remaining portion and pursue grants with FAU? That's up to them, I guess.
Right, and I mean, it's a $300,000, and considering that this is the city's project and they're running it, they might be a bit more cautious about work orders and things like that. If they are paying the overages that might happen, or the work orders that might happen. I just think, we have been full go on this project and fully supportive of this project from the very beginning. So I don't think I don't see why they can't go ahead with the project with the funding that we're providing, and then, for whatever change orders that might come about, work with FAU or work with their own budget to fund whatever work orders might have to happen due to that. So I also do want to make a comment about the ILA for Red Reef. We do need to take a look at that and kind of modify it, I think, and do a specific one for Gumbo Limbo and maybe for Friends. And I think Friends needs to be included in some of this stuff. And I just think we need to revisit that ILA that was done so many years ago. Obviously, ILAs take a while, as we see from Ocean Breeze, but I think we do need to take a look at it and revisit that for sure. But those were just my comments on that. And again, fully supportive of the project. We understand that it needs to be done, but we also want to make sure that the taxpayers aren't paying more than what we budgeted for. That's it.
Thank you, Commissioner Wright. Commissioners? Commissioner Engel?
Thank you. I agree with Commissioner Wright on revisiting the contract, I'm sorry, the interlocal agreement that we have with the city covering Red Reef. I agree also that Friends of Gumbo Limbo should be a party to this. I understand that they're working on an agreement with the city, but I think all the players need to be involved, so we're all singing from the same hymn book. Right now, it's, well, if there's an overage, look to the Beach and Park District. And I might remind everybody that 8 years ago, when we first got this project, we budgeted $1.6 million approximately. That puts us at double what the project was originally thought to cost. At some point, we have to say, well, listen, you have to look someplace else for additional money. We have a lot of things upcoming on our plate. We have the one thing that sticks out in my mind is the work we need on the Rutherford Center. That actually needs to be torn down and rebuilt. We need a second field house. There's De Hornley Phase 2. There are all these things that need work. Now, I've always been and always will be a Gumbo Limbo supporter. I think it's a vital part of our city's recreational program and a vital part of Nature Conservancy in South Florida. But we can't, at this point, we can't carry the entire load. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Engel. Commissioner Ernst, you had your hand up as well.
Yes, Madam Chair. For a couple things, I guess I'd say is, first of all, it's a lot of people keep referencing the original agreement. The original agreement was the acquisition of Red Reef Park, and it's clearly spelt out in there, maintenance and capital. But let's put it in context of where it was, is when we acquired it. And the context of where that was, we didn't know when anything was going to happen. And I also point out that Gordon Gilbert signed that letter. He's still actively involved in Gumbo Limbo. So we owe it to Gordon to keep things going out there at Gumbo Limbo. And I don't think we will ever lose our financial commitment to Gumbo Limbo. But it clearly is in the context of development of the site. And what we're talking about now is a very large project. And I think I heard from one of the callers, there's a question about the size of the pumping. And I also heard validation, it is appropriate for the pipe pumping. But it was reduced in scope because it was at 3.9 million, almost $4 million. And it's far beyond us to do something like this. I appreciate the fact the city took the engineering leadership to develop this project. I think it's important that the city feels it's important for the community, and they've done quite a bit of work on this whole thing. The challenge now is actually funding it for us. And it is, a heavy heart to say, look, we reduced our tax, rate last summer, for this year. So we are tighter than ever before than what we've done. And so it is true that Ocean Breeze, has changed it. We don't know where we're going to go with that, and we've pulled aside money for it. But we all collectively voted for $3,222,000 for this project, which is a very substantial amount of money. And I am fully committed to that project for helping it, and that's the majority of the project. I would tell you that if we got 20%, if FAU would pull up their share, and I think FAU is a very good partner to the community. They have certainly benefited a lot to this community. Maybe they weren't informed along the way, but that's worth $700,000. And I think FAU should be, a participant in it. And I also think the city should be participating in it. The city in its own right has a very large, cash flow budget, far bigger than us to cover any kind of overage. And I can say for us going forward, if we continue with the tight operating budget that we have, we can only commit to what we can commit to budget wise. And to the last part of it is, I came on this board to really support our volunteers, and I don't want to see Gumbo Limbo lose their volunteers. Gumbo Limbo is not because of the district or because of the city. It is because of the volunteers, the blood, sweat, and tears of the Robins of the world, of the Gordon Gilberts of the world, of Jim. Those people have really made that Gumbo Limbo a draw that collects 200,000 a year. I just think if the time has come where the Friends does have over 3 million in their bank account, and I think they should contribute to this project. And I think it's kind of wrong for them not to contribute. I think FAU should contribute to this project, and quite frankly, I think the city should contribute to this project. We all commit to the community project. So I guess in a nice way, I like the fact that the city is running the project. I appreciate Jennifer Bastiga because I think she's very smart and she wouldn't do anything wrong on this thing. I think she's got a plan. They've narrowed it as much as they can. But this is really about dollars and cents, and we need others to help out on this project. So with that, I really recommend to follow Brianne's advice, approve the 3.2 million, and they need to really work on funding it, and the Friends obviously can step in. They have the resources and it's not committed. So that's my thoughts.
Thank you, Mr. Ernst. Commissioner Rollins?
Well, that's probably the longest serving member on the commission and was engaged in the very first when we started talking about the pumps and piping. And it seems like it's been longer than 8 years, but to Steve's point, the original estimate was under 2 million. And I think we all had doubts that we were going to be able to do a project of this scope for that projected amount, but we went with the recommended budget. And over the years, that's been increased to the 3.2, which if you'd have told me that in the very beginning, I would have been shocked that we'd be looking at that kind of a price tag. I think that this has been a real diamond in our recreational programming elements. That it is recreational, as Rob had mentioned, depending on how you describe that. I mean, people do come there and are educated, and it's a form of recreation as well. We're not given the funds to the Friends of Gumbo Limbo, or a nonprofit, as the chair quite correctly pointed out. I would like to see this project go forward, but the surprising thing to me is that in the design, I mean, we received periodic updates on this from Jennifer Bastiga, and it was always in the back of my mind and the previous executive director that these numbers were, because the complications of this project are going to exceed what we had budgeted, and clearly it has, beyond what I had any thought that it would be at this level. But to looking at the correspondence that was provided by Brianne between us, between the city and FAU, we really were not privy to a lot of that communication. I know that FAU was the custodian of the pumps and making sure that they were functioning. I think they had somewhere in the documents I saw, they had actually done some repair work and replacement on the pumps. So I think because of the fact that they are drawing at least 20% of the water usage, that probably that's a valid way to look at the percentage that they should consider contributing. And I think had they been involved in this in the very beginning, that probably we wouldn't be having this discussion. The other thing that I was interested in listening to tonight was one of the writers mentioned that the scope of the project might be oversized for the anticipated use in the future. I don't know that that's in fact the case, but I know that person writing that's an engineer and probably has as much knowledge about that as anyone else on this project. I feel like that the 3.2 million that we have reserved should be the funding that we should consider sticking with, and in the hopes that the city and FAU and the Friends could find a way to come up with additional funds. A project of this size, we don't know about the cost overruns and the change orders that'll be necessary because it's a complicated project. I think that we should remain with the 3,224,000 as our as approved in our budget, and not make any change to that amount that we're committed to the project on. And we are committed to the project, and we have been over the years, as has been repeated throughout this discourse.
Thank you, Mr. Rollins. I concur with our commission, and I did do some research with contractors and cost overruns, and 10% contingencies in a lot of projects of this magnitude is not enough. So very conceivably, if their budgeting, the budgeting is 300,000, it could run considerably more than that 300,000. I would hate to get in the middle of this project and have already put our funds into it and have them come back and say, oops, we uncovered something and it's going to run another $1 million, and we would be right in the middle of it and it would not look good for anybody. I don't know that would happen, but I just think that we have a responsibility to the taxpayers, and we have budgeted this money, the 3.22, and I think we should stick to it. Brianne, do you have anything else that you wanted to bring up? You're good?
I do not.
Okay, good. Mr. Gorin, how do we proceed from here as far as a motion?
Madam Chair, if I may, I've listened to the discussion of the board and members. Obviously, motions are in order to the extent that the board appears to be committed to the project, but has limited their commitment to the contractual obligations that they have otherwise described tonight through your various discourse. Let it be said also for the record that we provided a legal memorandum to the board and to professional staff regarding this particular subject. And we believe that in the context of your legal obligation contractually, as well as the public purpose involved in funding this relationship and the project, you are consistent with the Florida Constitution and certainly your special act. But as to the deficit or the request for additional funding, certainly a motion could be in order to commit to the funds that are the funding which you have already previously committed to, but could in fact seek the assistance. I've heard the discussion regarding FAU as a partner to that conversation, as well as the Friends. And the motion could include that, or by separate motion, you could agree to, or at least make that request to both the city as well as the Friends in that regard, where there may be a deficit which you, at this evening's discussion, would choose not to pay, nor are you legally obligated to pay it.
Thank you, Mr. Gorin.
Yes,
Ms.
ma'am.
Wright? You're muted, Erin.
Sorry. Jennifer Vistiga is on the phone, correct? She's the project manager for the project. Is there any way we can?
Melissa's looking into this.
Yes, Jennifer's on. Give me 1 minute and I can unmute her.
Good evening, everyone. This is Jennifer Bastiga, the city project manager for this project.
Welcome,
Hi.
Jennifer.
Hello.
So I just had that question for you. If we go ahead, and we all seem to be in consensus of the fact that we absolutely want to go ahead and approve the budgeted amount, can you go ahead with the project and then go from there, assuming that you have time before the start of the project, and you would even have work orders, you'd have time to go and figure out the remaining 300,000 or 400,000, whatever it may be, depending on whether the Friends contributes. Would you be able to go ahead and start the project based on us approving the budgeted amount?
So that's a kind of a couple step answer for you, but as you have in your backup information, the bid came in at 244,300, which is above your $3.222 amount. We also have we have 2 work orders with ATM. That total comes to $121,946. The one work order was to do revisions to the bid that we have today. And then the other work order is for all the engineering inspection, as well as to close out this project. So those 2 items plus the bid comes in that you have a total overage of $144,246 to move the project forward. So I can't, that needs to be accounted for to move this project forward.
Okay. So to move the project forward, you would need that amount. So you would need the friends to say, okay, we might be able to put in the 121, and then we would have to have but we would still have to amend our budget, correct, for that?
Well,
it would be an extra $20,000 that we would be putting towards what we've already budgeted.
Just for the construction of itself, you're looking at 22,300 from the 3.222. But again, there's the work orders to have oversight and construction inspection for this very complex project.
If the Friends contributes the 142,246, we wouldn't amend our budget. We would stick with the 3,222,000.
Okay, so basically we would be going ahead and approving what we budgeted, and we'd be relying, and the city would have to rely on the Friends and to basically do that 142 to be able to go ahead with the project. Right, Brian?
If that's the process for the city, yes. We are in for 3,222,000 is what I'm hearing tonight.
Right.
Mr. Ernst?
In that same spirit of Aaron's thought logic, has anyone asked the contractor if they can reduce it by that much? I mean, the burden really goes back to the contractor that they could do that. So Jennifer, have you approached the contractor for a reduction in price?
We have not approached the contractor as to date.
Okay.
Jennifer, who is the contractor?
The low bid is Quality Enterprises.
Where are they located?
They are on the west coast of Florida.
So are we incurring travel expenses and living expenses when they are on the project?
The bid items are just the line items, which includes just the pump, all the components that make this project up. The pumps, the directional drilling, the housing units, all the components, the mob, demob, all that is in specific line items that make up this project cost.
Okay. Mr. Rollins?
Yeah, I think I'll just follow up with what Craig had said regarding our budget. When we put this budget together, we were looking at several different methods to fund some of our projects that we saw coming down the pike. I don't recall, I think did we go to rollback on our ad valorem revenue last year?
Yes.
We did
Yes.
that at some concern for the future projects, and the fact that we have this $3,222,000 commitment to the Friends of Gumbo Limbo. We've adjusted that budget every year at the expense of some other projects that we might have wanted to do. I think that it's up to the city to find that money with the contractor. It's not our responsibility to find that. I think it's up to the city to find the funds, whether it's with FAU or with the Friends, and doesn't matter to me where they come up with those funds. If we're consistently saying that we are in for the amount that we have in our budget, then that's the end of that discussion, unless you want to amend the budget, and I'm not prepared to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Rollins. Ms. Wright, were you finished?
Yeah, I was just talking it through in my head out loud. But I'm in agreement with that. I think that we need to stick to our budgeted amount and then the city can go from there and work with the friends. I do know that I had a conversation with Jim Miller, and he said he would be able to go to his board and discuss that option of being able to do that between $100,000 and $200,000 amount. So the money is there in other places, and we have our budgeted amount. So I think we kind of need to stick with that.
Mr. Gorin stated that he thought we should have a motion to continue to support the 3.22 million. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make the motion, Madam Chair, if you give me a moment. I think I'd like to reaffirm the district's commitment to the pump and piping project in our budget amount of $3,222,000, and encourage the project team to pursue other opportunities for any amounts above that.
Second.
Thank you. Is there
Madam
any
Chair,
further?
if I can inquire? Madam Chair, if I may?
Yes, Mr. Gorin.
Commissioner Ernst, your motion essentially confirms the legal and contractual obligation, but leaves open, which is committed if the vote passes on your motion. But as to the encouraging the other sources, that is segregable from the motion, but it's simply a sidebar to the fact that the district is committing to its obligation, but suggesting to other parties that they contribute consistent with the conversations that occurred this evening. Correct?
Correct.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Gorin. We have a second from Mr. Rollins. Is there any other discussion? Joanne, would you do a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Ernst?
Yes.
Commissioner Engel?
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang?
Yes.
And Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Joanne. Our third item is the FPL car charging stations. Brianne, would you start us off that we're not looking for a motion. We're just looking for consensus tonight, and you'll lead us off with that, please.
Correct. I just lost my notes on this. So the FPL has a contract with the city of Boca, and they provided some car charging stations at some of their parks, including the library, which Melissa went out and put some pictures into this agenda packet. Basically, we mimicked their agreement to give you an idea of what it would look like. They would install these for 7 years at our facilities. They're looking at placing 2 at Sugar Sand Park, 2 at Patch Reef Park, and 2 at Swim and Racket Center. And so tonight, if this board is agreeable to moving forward with it, we would then have their project manager meet up with staff and kind of look at where these could be placed at our facilities and come back to you with the final contract and the exhibits.
At Patch Reef Park, would we need an agreement with the county and the city too for this?
Sam, can we own the park, so I'm not sure. Sam?
If I may, Madam Chair, you may not actually require their consent, but certainly notification would be appropriate. I'm not sure that there's any need to actually gain approval. It is district-owned property, which I understand would be the case, and that therefore there would probably not be need for actual approval, but consent as the case may be.
Thank you, Mr. Gorin. I understand that Peter Martinez from FPL is on the call. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Mr. Martinez? Yes, Mr. Engel?
Yeah, Mr. Martinez, first, thank you for coming. Second, what would be the cost in terms of extra electricity to the district over the course of a year? Mr. Martinez?
I'm trying to unmute him. It's not letting me. Here we go. I think he's unmuted now. Peter, are you there? Oh, no, hold on.
Yeah, I'm here now. Sorry, I was getting the little auto message there to unmute. So I apologize. I missed your question.
My question was, what would be the total cost annually to the district for these charging stations?
Yeah, so the nice thing about the program is that FPL pays for all the upfront installation costs and any ongoing maintenance. The only obligation to the city would be the electricity costs. So the electricity costs are obviously variable. It'll depend on how often these are being used. Last year was obviously an interesting year because of COVID. Usage at other projects varied quite a bit. We have installed roughly 300 of these so far throughout our territory in the state. We have some sites like, Citrix headquarters, which weren't used at all. It was all, IT employees that worked from home for, most of the year. And then we have other sites like Jupiter Medical Center, obviously a 24/7 operation in an affluent area, and that was used quite a bit. So I'd say, to give you a high bar kind of ceiling, what we've seen is $50 per month per parking space is probably the highest you could see.
So we're looking at roughly $300 a month to $3,600 a year.
Depending on how many, so let's see, we went, it was four locations.
Is it 4
Six,
locations?
6 meters at 3 different, 2 meters at 3 different locations. So 6 meters total. Charging station, sorry.
I'm sorry, you wanted the total per year, 2,400 is the quick math that I just did.
Yeah, if you said $50 per month per spot, 6 spots is $300 a month, which would come to $3,600 a year. And I'm assuming that would be the total extent of our obligation.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question, Madam Chair.
Mr. Ernst?
Yeah, this is for Mr. Martinez. In your experience, just the usage of these things, these are parks. Is it common for people to, come plug in and then walk away from it and leave it? Are we going to run into any kind of, complaints from our park users that there's not enough of them? And what does it lead us to is what I'm kind of going towards. What's your experience?
Yeah, so
handle that?
What we've seen so far is that no, that's not an issue. But actually, one of the reasons we're doing this is because, the demand for electric vehicles, we're seeing a lot more electric vehicles. So we're kind of using this to develop our strategy going forward. We want to understand people's charging behavior. So most of what we're doing under this program is actually workplace charging. But another segment that we have is more kind of destination, and that's what this would fall under. We want to see how people do it. We haven't done that many parks, but we're not really seeing, that's been a concern that other folks have had. What is that behavior going to look like? And really the idea is that, someone would plug in and enjoy, the amenities at a park. And we're seeing that for the most part, that's how that works.
And in related question to that, and then Mr. Rollins has a question for you, is so given that you're going to learn a lot from this, would you be willing to put that thing in there for free without additional meter usage to us? And do you do that? Have you done anything better for anyone else? We just want the best terms.
No.
We are a nonprofit.
No, our agreement is standard, and it's been agreed by, dozens of folks throughout the state.
Mr. Rollins?
Yeah, Mr. Martinez, that was from our treasurer who counts every penny. And
that's no problem. I admire the effort.
We appreciate that kind of commitment. Given the fact that, people cycle in and out the park at various times, and the parking at some of our parks, even without designated spots for, charging stations, sometimes gets a little tight at some of our peak times. And so the question is, where would you consider the appropriate place for some of these to be? For instance, I'm not sure whether you're familiar with either Patch Reef, Sugar Sand Park, or DeHornley, but there are centers of activity where, it's busier than others. And I would be looking to, like, for instance, at the tennis center where we have now pickleball, I can envision that those parking places are probably at a premium during certain times of the day. And I'm just wondering in Patch Reef in particular, when you have a lot of activity going over there, the playground in usage, the 3 fields going, and the city has taken up probably half a dozen spots over there with their vehicles that I would really like to see moved to another location if there were such available. But to the specific question is, what is the ideal spot for you in the placement? And would we have say so over where those charging stations are put in place?
Yes, absolutely. You would definitely have a say. So that's really the purpose of the site visit that we perform. We try and marry your preferences with what we can realistically feed to keep the project, sustainable, I guess. So yeah, you definitely have a say. Every project is unique, but we've been able to move forward in all the projects that we've, wanted so far. So yeah, I mean, hopefully that answers your question. Yeah.
All right. Well,
but yeah, and that's that's one of the unique things. Office space, they also sometimes have unique requirements like that. What we found, over time is that you don't want to do the best parking spaces and you don't want to do the worst ones either. You want to be somewhere in between. And where the electric's coming from will also kind of dictate what we use.
yeah, well, we want to be especially mindful of the fact that really some of the preferred spaces are for handicap spaces. So,
Sure.
and I would understand you don't want to be in the worst places, but like in a park like we have here at Sugar Sand, you have a complex here where the community center is, and then you have 3 ball fields, a ball field complex over there where there's a lot of activity going over there as well. But we would be just talking about 2 spaces here in Sugar Sand Park. I would assume it 2 in each one of the four parks that we have, or 4 locations: Tennis Center, Patch Reef, Sugar Sand.
We typically our minimum, we do 2 units, and each unit actually has 2 ports, so it's actually 4 parking spaces. Because we're going in, we're already doing the work, and we want to kind of build for the future. We're typically going to do 4 parking spaces. That's our minimum. And you mentioned the Spanish River facility. It's a great facility, but I wasn't really in love with putting any there, just because I feel like that facility mostly at night and on the weekends is where you're going to get the traffic, whereas the Sugar Sand and the Patch Reef, I feel like, and the tennis as well, you're going to get more consistent flow.
Yeah, I would probably have to agree with you. Patch Reef at the tennis center typically is the one that's busiest during the day, and then in and around the community center and the science playground and the carousel would probably be the other busy location.
Yeah, exactly.
Mr. Martinez, how invasive to the facility are these charging stations as far as installing them?
Yeah, not very invasive at all. So the installation process is pretty easy, but it's kind of broken up a little bit. So, if you want, I can send you guys pictures. Melissa has pictures. But we come out probably the first day, and we work with certified electricians. But pretty much the first day, they're probably going to do underground electrical work and probably pour a small pad for the actual charger, which is probably going to be about 1 foot by 1 foot. They'll come back another day to actually set the station. And then after getting electrical inspection, they'll probably come back another day to commission them. But not invasive at all. We would work with you guys, to block off any area that might be needed to be blocked off. But it's not a big lift at all with regards to construction.
Is there anywhere in Boca that we could look at these charging stations to see what it looks like?
Yes.
As far as
yes,
how
absolutely.
Potential damage or potential issues?
Yes. So last year we actually worked with the city and we did several projects. So they actually had some existing chargers at a few locations, and we actually upgraded those. And then we installed some new ones as well. So last year we did at the beach, we did South Beach Park, Red Reef Park, Spanish River Park. We did the downtown library, Spanish River Library, we did City Hall, and we did the municipal complex as well.
Okay.
So all of those have some of our work. Some other facilities include Office Depot headquarters. Brick is under construction right now. Yeah, that's what I can think of off the top of my head.
Well, this gives us a good inventory, so that's a great idea.
Yeah, I mean, Boca's a great location for the chargers. We have a lot of EVs down here, and it's, you know, it's a beautiful city and progressive, I think, with regards to something like this.
Commissioner Ernst.
One last question for Mr. Martinez is that I see the pictures in our agenda pack for, it looks like of the EV, you know, for 2 set up at the library for Boca. The standards that you're going to apply for installing this are the same for the district that they would be for the city that has already been done. So I see a
Correct.
bigger than, okay, so it will look same construction standards that they have used, you'll use for ours.
Yes, correct. I'm not sure what picture you're looking at. It's possible that there may be a picture in there that is showing a fast charger, which we would not be doing for this project. Fast chargers we reserve for highway projects and other unique projects. It's a slightly larger unit. It's higher power, higher cost, but a faster charge.
Mr. Martinez, the picture they have is the one from the Boca Library.
Oh, okay. No, so yeah, that's our standard ChargePoint CT4000. Great product. ChargePoint's #1 in terms of market share. Good support system. Yeah, that's our bread and butter unit right there.
Okay, and related to that question, I mean, look, I know you guys have worked through all the details of this thing, but let's say those 2 cars are sitting in a puddle of water and when they're done, they throw the charger on the ground. Is there any concerns from us from a liability perspective, or is that all on you since you operate and maintain it and everything?
Yeah.
How does that work?
So yeah, that's right. So something like that, that's 100% on us. And what's neat about these is that they're pretty much glorified computers these days. So they can actually send us alerts and alarms, you know, if they start to see anything that looks a little off electrically. Something like vandalism would be a little bit harder. We are going to inspect these a couple times a year, but we would probably rely on someone to report that if that were to happen.
Okay. Sounds like a good project. Thank you.
Commissioner Ernst?
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Wright.
We look alike, I know. I think this is great. I think it shows our passion for trying to be as green as possible and promoting green vehicles. I know there's some stuff in the new infrastructure bill that Biden's trying to get that's promoting electric vehicles and more charging stations in terms of infrastructure. So I think we're only going in the right direction with this. And to be able to provide it to our residents is a great thing. So I'm 100% for it.
Well, it sounds like
Okay,
we are
great. Yeah, I
giving
think
direction to staff and to Mr. Martinez with FPL to go forward to do some site visits and some planning, and then we can vote on it at a future time. Is everybody in agreement?
I'm in agreement, but I would add that some of the parks are very diverse. So it's like Mr. Rollins said, you have ball fields, different areas. So I could see you having 3 different locations at Sugar Sand easily, not limiting yourself to just 2 or to just 2 parking spaces. But I just be open-minded. We're looking for your recommendations and, you know, we can decide later on some of the.
Remember, that's 4
Okay.
spaces per, he's putting in 2 units, but each of those have 2 spaces with them. So it's 4 spaces that should be setting aside.
Yes, that is a challenge. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so you bring up a good point. I will say that we normally try and do the units in clusters that are together just because there's huge cost savings. If we start putting, you know, different groups all over the place, I mean, if you do 2 groups, in essence, you're almost doubling the cost. So, you know, again, that's why we have the site meeting. We'll figure out what makes the most sense, but we do try and do, you know, 1 group, especially for something this size, right? If it's a larger property, we can consider doing multiple, but so we'll see.
Okay.
Thank you for weighing in, Mr. Martinez. We appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
It's time for the approval of the payroll and invoices found on page 29 of your agenda packets. Do I hear a motion, Mr. Ernst?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion for approval of payroll and minutes or and invoices, I'm sorry, payroll and invoices for the total amount of $39,631.01.
Do I hear a
Second.
second? Thank you, Mr. Rollins. Any discussion? Joanne, would you please do a roll call?
Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang,
Yes?
and Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Joanne. It's time for reports and discussion. We're going to lead off with Executive Director Harms. Brianne, would you start us off, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioners, just a few updates tonight. The roof at Gumbo Limbo project was completed. The new storm windows at Gumbo Limbo were also installed, and the AC at Gumbo Limbo has also been installed, and that should be up and running in the next couple of weeks. So those projects that we funded this year are all getting addressed. And then I want to have Ocean Strand added to the agenda at the next meeting just to give a more detailed project update. We are going to meet this week, but the survey should be completed by the end of this week. So I just wanted to give you that update on something that you all approved 2 meetings ago. And that is all I have for tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Harms. District Council, Mr. Gorin.
Good evening. Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. A couple of items as well this evening. As you know, the governor entered into the executive order number 21-45, which extended the executive order 20-52. What is that order? That's the order which declares the statewide emergency. The statewide emergency order then has been extended by the governor through what looks to be April the 26th. It was signed on February the 26th. If you count there, which is exactly what the order says. Technically speaking, then the order 2052, under which in some great detail, we are conducting meetings here on a virtual platform, disallowing the physical presence of the public, but allowing them to be accessible to the meeting through a virtual platform. We have a physical quorum in the room. At some point in time, perhaps as we begin to near the May, and also the governor's orders with regard to vaccination opportunities for people 18 years of age or older, and hopefully having members of our board to be vaccinated as well. There may come a time at some point by the early part of next month where you may want to think about reopening the dais to yourselves and to allow public access to you during the virtual access that they would have with your physical presence as a complete board as you begin in that direction. Not just district boards, but other city commissions and commissions are opening that discussion now. Some have actually gone back to the physical quorum, the physical presence. But FASN Governor DeSantis essentially allows 20-52 to expire or does not extend it any further besides the date that would appear to be May 26th. And there may be some impetus to begin opening that discussion for you all as well. Secondly, there are several bills pending. The legislature nearing the turn of the final turn, as it were. The 60-day session begins to end towards the end of May, as you know. There are several bills that we've been following for you and the board. Obviously, they might concern you. I'm trying to find the bill numbers for you. One of which is Senate Bill 1624, which apparently moving along forward eventually says the special districts is the special district accountability bill, requiring certain independent special districts to contract with an independent entity to conduct performance audits, requiring the Office of Program Policy Analysis, Staffing and Accountability to conduct performance audits of certain classifications in special districts, requiring the performance audits to be reported by a time certain, requiring that certain data be included in financial audits of special districts. And that's Senate Bill 1624. And the companion bill, which there is, House Bill 1103. At this point, we believe it would apply to all special districts. There's some conversation it may be limited to hospital districts or to fire control districts, but the bill is not that clear about that situation. The end result is that if you ask me this evening, what is a performance audit? And I know the Commissioner Ernst may have a view of it that may differ from Commissioner Rollins, and Commissioner Rollins may differ from Commissioner Engel. And that's because the bill doesn't go into great detail about what that audit might include. And it's also not clear that the audit would be done on an annual basis, right, or every 2-year basis or every 3-year basis, and that of course would be an issue as well. But it would appear to be the obligation, if this bill passes and if it does apply to all special districts, to impose a fiscal and financial obligation on this district to spend public money to get to an answer that's yet to be achieved by the non-passage of the bill. What I mean by that is if the bill passes and it does apply to our special district, then there would be a cost involved regarding what would be asked for in the context of a performance audit. The second bill, which we've been following a bit, and I think that Jake mentioned too at the last meeting, is Senate Bill 402, which is a legal notice bill. Every year, as you know, the newspapers fight to retain the right to publish their notifications, newspapers of general circulation within each community, each county. And in this situation, there appears to be some fiscal obligation that in the event that the legislature were to move towards an internet-only publication, there would also be, if I'm reading this correctly, authorizing newspapers to charge for internet-only publication, so that in the event that there were in some fashion internet-only publication for notices, which we rely upon and along with newspapers, there might otherwise still be a charge accessible against public entities that otherwise use internet access only. So that bill appears to have some level of legs. It is it's Senate Bill 402. I don't have the House bill companion, but those are two bills that are out there. Other members of the board have asked me questions in recent days about your ability to make phone calls to legislators. The answer is that you can. Aside from the fact that you are individuals that are individuals, you're also a collegial body. If the collegial body directed your director to send letters to the legislature, either opposing or supporting or something in between on these bills, you could take that action this evening, as it were, to have her do that. Secondarily, if you choose to not do that and have the board itself take action, you're not stripped of your constitutional right to speak on your own behalf. So long as if you do speak to a legislator, or you make that call, or you have that conversation, that you indicate that your view and has not been taken up by the full board and may not be the board's actual collegial decision. But these bills, I think, do have some impact on the district, and I raise it this evening only to make sure that you're aware and ongoingly thoughtful as you have been during the course of tonight's meeting and all your prior meetings. So if I can answer any questions about either bill, I'm going to try. The one that concerns me more, I think, is this fiscal accountability bill, which I think does apply across the board and will have a cost estimate that I can't give you this evening, not knowing exactly what the framework would be or the four corners of that audit might be. This would be secondary to and supplemental to any kind of audit that's being provided by your auditor, required by state statute currently. So leave with those concepts. If I can answer any questions, I'm happy to try. As always, thank you for your indulgence and thank you for listening as always. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Mr. Gorin. Is there a way that we could find out specifically the exact wording of these bills? Brian?
I can send them out to you. I have the copies of them.
The bill numbers, yes. Yep.
Okay, and with the appropriate phone numbers or emails of the legislators that we could contact if we were so inclined.
And the answer is that if you individually have interest in supporting or opposing the bills, I would urge you to suggest that it's your individual view, not reduced to the inability to do that. If you as a board would choose to support or otherwise oppose these bills, you can make the decision this evening as a collegial body to open up that conversation as well. But yet again, you don't lose your constitutional rights as an individual, and certainly it would behoove you to make sure that if you do make contact with the legislator or the delegation membership or anyone that you may have a relationship with that might have some interest in the subject, I know that the legislators like the personal touch. Emails are certainly very helpful. Resolutions are also very helpful. Phone calls to staff and to aides and to other support mechanisms within the organization, that you took the time to make a phone call or to do that. My understanding is that those kinds of inquiries do have resonance with the legislators. They do pay attention.
Well, since we don't have the specifics of the bill to vote as a body.
Correct.
We don't have enough information to vote as a body at this point. So
Correct.
we should
Correct.
read up on what Brianne sends us and then possibly revisit this at our next meeting. Mr. Rollins?
Yeah, I'd just like for Brianne to include the name and phone number of the sponsor of that bill.
Yeah, I have the name of
I'll do that.
several, if I can give it to you. Let me see. The Senate Bill 1624 is sponsored by Senator Albritton, A-L-B-R-I-T-T-O-N. That's in the Senate. And the House Bill 1103 is sponsored by Maggard, M-A-G-G-A-R-D, Barnaby, and Masulo, three legislators. Maggard, Barnaby, and Masulo. And that bill does have both a Senate proposal and a House bill co-sponsorship. So that would be, to me, an indication that there's some legs in that bill.
Yeah, Brian, get us the phone numbers of those individuals to would.
I will do that.
And then, of course, the local delegation are the ones that we'll need to talk to
Yes.
that represent us. But I did want to talk to the bill sponsors.
Thank you, Mr. Gorin.
And by the way, just one more thing, and I think I head it back to Commissioner Rollins. Sometimes legislators in their good faith efforts to try to support a global bill that one size fits all may not actually fit all. And to the extent that you as a public official have an interest in suggesting that maybe that shoe doesn't fit this board, you certainly, after your review of the documentation, have the right to challenge the fact that the shoe doesn't fit everybody. So you're rightful to say that and to think that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gorin. Mr. Rollins, do you have anything else?
Oh, thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Let's go to commissioner reports. We'll start with Commissioner Ernst.
Madam Chair, I have no report.
Thank you. Commissioner Wright?
I have nothing to report.
Okay. Commissioner Engel?
I have the same report as you.
Okay. And Mr. Rollins?
Yeah, Madam Chairman, I just to express to the board, I'm sorry I missed the last meeting. I feel like I've been gone for a month with all the business that's been transacted. But it's good to be back among you. And, just I feel I regret the way this Gumbo Limbo project is turning out, but I think that we're doing the right thing for our constituents. And given the fact that we make a budget, we consider all other projects that are involved in that. And I wish we had foreseen this coming down the road, and we might have been able to prepare ourselves differently, but that's all.
Thank you, Mr. Rollins. I just have one question for our executive director. Do we have an agenda yet for the joint meeting?
Right now, it's just the needs assessment is one of the topics on the agenda.
Commissioners, do you have anything else that you would like to have her submit to the city for the joint meeting?
Yes, I'd like Gumbo Limbo to be on the agenda.
Okay, Brianne, got that? Anything else, commissioners? Okay. All right, Mr. Engel,
I move to adjourn.
do I hear a second?
Second.
Joanne, would you do a roll call vote, please?
Sure. Commissioner Ernst?
Yes.
Commissioner Engel?
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang?
Yes.
And Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Meeting adjourned. Stay safe, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everybody.
Craig.
Good night,
Bye.
everyone.